Hey guys, I'm John Setzler. Welcome back to Man Cave Meals. Today I'm going to fire up the Lone Star 20x42 Pellet Smoker, and we're going to cook a rack of baby back ribs. So let's get started. I'm going to kick this cook off by firing up the Lone Star pellet grill with the fireboard controller, and we're going to preheat this grill to a temperature of 225 degrees Fahrenheit while we get our ribs ready. My first step in prepping baby back ribs is to remove the membrane, which I have already done. I like to create a binder layer on my ribs with just a very, very thin smear of mayonnaise because I like the kind of crust that this helps produce when it's cooking. And then I just like to coat both sides of my ribs with a nice liberal coat of barbecue rub. You can use any kind of rub you like. The rub that I use here is homemade, and I like to put a layer on thick enough to just where you can't see the meat through the rub. Our grill's preheated nicely to 225 degrees, and I've got a nice smoke roll in there. Our ribs are prepped, so we're going to toss these ribs right up here on the top rack of the grill where they can get the most smoke. We're going to close the grill up, and we're going to be back to look in a couple hours. We're about 2.5 hours in now, and I'm pretty happy with how these look. So I think at this stage we're going to go ahead and wrap. Before I wrap these ribs, I'm going to put a nice little liberal coat of brown sugar across the top of these because I like the way it helps flavor and helps form a skin on these guys. And once I have that on there, I'm going to drizzle on a little bit of maple syrup, and that will really just make this something else. And I'm going to wrap this up in foil, and we're going to put these back on the Lone Star grill, wrapped in foil with the meat side down for a couple more hours, and then we'll be back to have a look. After a couple of hours in the foil, these guys have gotten nice and tender. So now it's time to put these guys back in the smoke. So I'm going to put these right back on the top rack, unwrapped, and let these guys finish up in the smoke on the Lone Star. After another hour or so, these guys are just basically done. So I'm going to drizzle a little bit of my homemade barbecue sauce across the top of these, and then I'm going to use my basting brush to give that a nice even smear across the top of these ribs to let that sauce set up. And after another 15 minutes or so, that sauce has had a nice chance to set up on there. It's tacked up beautifully, and these ribs just look amazing. So I'm going to take these off, rest them for a few minutes, and then we'll slice in. So I've sliced these apart. These guys have got a beautiful smoke ring, as you can see here, and they are beautifully tender as well. They've got a perfect bite through texture, and just everything about these ribs has come out perfectly. They've got a beautiful flavor, texture, and smoke profile.